He doesn't know much, but he does know comic book shipping. And here's Ship Shape Update with Comic Book Man.
Oh, for Pete's sake, don't be such a little wuss.
Here at the Video Outhouse, we cut lots of things in two, including this week in review for February 2nd, 2011.
Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome to my Video Outhouse. It's time for Week in Review Part 2 for February the 2nd, 2011. And this is the second part of Week in Review where we talk about news and other events that happened over the past week. Be sure to check out Part 1 where I talk about the shipping for this week. And of course, for this week, there was only one news story that affected the entire comic book industry, the entire media industry, the entire wrestling, the entire universe. And that, of course, was Snowpocalypse! I don't know if you folks heard, but here in Chicago, where Alternate Reality is located, we had ourselves a little bit of weather. On Tuesday, from about 10 o'clock in the morning through Wednesday morning at about 11 o'clock, we had over 20 inches of snow dumped on the Chicagoland area. We had whiteout conditions, we had 70-mile-an-hour gusts, 45 to 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and we also had Lakeshore Drive shut down with 900 cars stranded on it. You don't think that we had that much snow? This is the Alternate Reality dumpster right here. That's how much snow is on that dumpster right now, 18 inches. This has been sitting here for a couple of days too, so it's compacted down a little bit. Sun's been hitting it, it's melted a little. All of that caused us to miss New Comic Wednesday this week. I was snowed in, I couldn't get out of the house. I had a backup plan, I had a plan B. Sarah was gonna open up, she just lives a couple of blocks from the store. She couldn't get out. When I saw what it was like on Wednesday morning, I said, forget it. New Comic Day is over with, it's done. We're gonna have a New Comic Thursday. And if you went to the store's website that morning, or my Facebook page, or the store's Facebook page, you saw that announcement. So I hope none of you came out to the store on Wednesday in all this junk, okay, just to find out the store was closed all day long. What was the big event for this week in the Week in Review? Snowpocalypse! So anyway, that was Snowpocalypse. If you were one of the 30 states in the United States that didn't have a Snowpocalypse, God bless you. You were doing pretty good.
Send Comic Book Man all your stories, all your snow stories.
Oh, man.
He wants to hear them all.
I tell you, there's brutal snow and there's brutal snow. It's the third worst snow in Chicago history. 1967 was the worst. 1979 was the second worst. I lived through both of those. Jeffy lived through both of those.
I'll say for all of them.
This was a bad one. It wasn't as bad as 67. I remember 67. It wasn't as bad as 67, but it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And as you saw, we still have plenty of it with us today. Anyway, actual news that happened this week in the comic book world, because there was comic book news. Diamond reported comic sales for January of 2011. They put together their numbers. They brought them out over the past week, and it was not a pretty picture. It was a very ugly January. This January, sales plunged 23% in the number of units that were sold and 22% in the number of dollars that were made, as opposed to January of 2010 a year ago. So the industry made 22% less in money, and it sold 23% less in product last month than it did a year ago. Now, why would there be this big disparity? And graphic novels were also down 19%, and 16.5% it was down in actual dollar amounts. And if you combine comics and graphic novels together, the whole schmear was down 23%. Part of the reason for this decline could have been the weather. You think, maybe. We just had the Snowpocalypse, which we were just talking about, but previous to that, the East Coast has been getting the crap kicked out of it by the weather since December. So they had a miserable January weather-wise, all up and down the East Coast. So their sales are probably way down because of that. So weather is probably part of the blame for it. Also, last year, you had a bunch of events that you didn't have this year. In January of last year, Siege #1 shipped, as well as Green Lantern #50, which shipped last year in January. So neither one of those events, or anything like it, was around for this year. We did have Fantastic Four 587, which was the Death of the Human Torch. That came out. That was part of January, but that was like the only event. There really wasn't anything else. And DC had nothing spectacular to speak of. All their stuff came out in the end of December for December's numbers. The Batman Incorporated and Batman the Dark Knight, all that stuff came out in December. So that might be one reason. One of the things that did happen, though, when the numbers came out was the Derby winners. Now, if you watch Ship Shape Update, you know that we do the horse race every month, or every week. where I rank the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place companies in terms of the amounts that they shipped during the course of the week. And over the last month or so, DC and Marvel have been neck and neck, back and forth. Some weeks DC's been up, some weeks Marvel's been up. Well, Marvel reestablished its preeminence in the market in January. They took 39.6 share to DC's 26.38 share. So Marvel had 39% of the market, DC had 26% of the market in January. And DC's numbers were hurt, like I said before, by the absence of having any big titles. In a solid third place with 7.6% was Image, due primarily to Chew and The Walking Dead, more so for Walking Dead than Chew. But everybody came out and was looking for Walking Dead trade paperbacks, so that solidified and bumped up their numbers a lot more than usual. That, and they also had Spawn 200 come out, and that was the first time Spawn 200 had placed in like the top 20 in the last 3 or 4 years. So Spawn 200 came out, and that helped them. In fourth place, Dark Horse and IDW were tied. Dark Horse was ahead in dollar amount, 4.82% to 4.75% for IDW. But IDW led in units. IDW actually sold more products, sold more individual items than Dark Horse did. Dynamite finished up in sixth place with almost 3% of the market, and Boom with just a hair over 2% of the market. So that was your horse race for January. That's how they all placed in January. Moving on to media news. We have a Superman, as I'm sure you've probably heard by now. Henry Cavill, C-A-V-I-L-L, has been cast as Superman Clark Kent in the upcoming Zack Snyder film from Legendary Pictures and Warner Brothers. The film is slated for a December 2012 release, so look for a Christmas release next year. Cavill played Charles Brandon in The Tudors. I never watched The Tudors because I never had Showtime, but I think it was on Showtime. It was on Showtime, wasn't it?
Tudors?
Yeah, it was on Showtime. Although BBC America is running it, I might actually look for it now so I can see what this guy's like in something. But he was in The Tudors. He was also in a couple of smaller things, too, but that's one thing he's known by. There's some rumors that Lois Lane wouldn't be in the film. She will be in the film. I don't know how big her role is going to be. The impression I've gotten from everything I've read is she's going to have a diminished role. Think of Superman 3 when you think about Lois's role in this upcoming film, but she will be in it. And they're auditioning a bunch of different people. They're looking at a bunch of different women to play that. But also in the film, a surprise is Ursa from the first 2 Superman movies is going to be in the movie, and she's going to be, I guess, the second female lead. And they're looking at Rosemund, R-O-S-A-M-U-N-D, Pike, Alice Eve, and Diane Kruger to play Ursa. All of them are blondes with long hair, so if they stick to the original Ursa, somebody's getting a haircut and getting a dye job done to her hair. But anyway, we've got a bunch of Superman casting that's all finally happened, so it looks like this movie is finally starting to chug ahead. Also this week in media news, and this is more of a visual than an actual thing for me to tell you about, the Captain America poster was released. Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics released the Captain America First Avenger poster. The movie's opening up on July 22nd. This is a teaser one-sheet. For those of you who aren't aware, movies usually release a teaser poster or 2, and then they will have a variety of actual movie posters for when the movie comes out. This is a teaser poster. It shows Chris Evans, Captain America, standing sturdy and solemn as the Sentinel of Liberty with the word avenge across his chest, as I'm sure you're looking at right now, which is an obvious lead into the upcoming Avengers film. Avengers. As to who he is avenging, we'll of course find out in the movie. Marvel also released the first images of Sebastian Stan, who is playing Bucky Barnes in the movie. There is going to be a major change in the Bucky character from what we're all used to in the comics. In the original comic, and as we've all known, Bucky was the Robin to Captain America, to Steve Rogers' Captain America. In this, they're going to be about the same age, and it's going to be more of a band of brothers relationship between Bucky and Cap. So they're going to be about the same age. As a matter of fact, Bucky is going to have been in the military for a year or 2 before Steve Rogers even gets to the super soldier formula. So Bucky's going to be a more seasoned GI than Steve Rogers is once he gets in. But anyway, those first pictures came out this week, so Captain America is chugging along. I do have a piece of wrestling news that I want to get to because I've been talking about wrestling news for the last couple of these and I haven't gotten anything. If you saw Royal Rumble last week, you saw 2 surprises show up in the Rumble. One was Booker T, who finally showed up. He's now not at TNA anymore. He's now back with the WWE. And Kevin Nash, who showed up as Diesel, complete with black hair. Somebody got out the hair dye and dyed up his hair. Booker T is going to be SmackDown's new announcer and probably do some wrestling on the side too. But Booker T is going to be SmackDown's new announcer. Nash is coming back to the WWE to begin his retirement tour. Nash is going to retire. He's going to retire as he came in as Diesel, and he's probably going to pocket a check. I remember Diesel once upon a time after the NWO folded up and Vince folded WCW into WWE, they had a show where Vince was chewing out the entire staff, all the wrestlers who were up on stage, and they had a close-up of Kevin Nash doing this, rubbing his forehead, and Vince was pretty yanked off about that, and it wasn't part of a bit. It was actually Kevin Nash doing this to Vince on camera live, and Vince wasn't happy about that, and he called him out for it. But anyway, I guess everybody is kissed and made up, and all's right with the world now. So Kevin Nash will be retiring with the WWE. Look for him and Shawn Michaels to be doing something together, and the WWE. And that's it. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. We have no more weekend review. But be sure to go to the store's website and check out all the weekend reviews and the Ship Shape updates and all the other stuff we do here at the Video Outhouse. And where's the store's website at? The little one knows.
Wonder Woman! Wonder Woman! Wonder Woman! Well, what do you want on this budget? www.myalternatereality.com.
So go to the store's website, check it all out. Until next time, this is Comic Book Man saying, I hope you all dug out, and may we never have another Snowpocalypse in our lifetimes. Bye!
The Video Outhouse is brought to you by some of the finest people willing to work for free. This is a list of some of them.